Well, now that that part's done and out of the way, Luigi Partner says, wait, I was late. Was the conversation about a book? Okay, so no, the conversation was about whether it's okay to control anything in media, like whether it's okay to have media with zero oversight whatsoever. And then the statement, and you can scroll up in the chat to find it, the statement was given that if you have parental controls exist on things, and the list of things with parental controls that was given included books. So I just grabbed my copy of Resident Evil 0, the novelization, and just flipped through it real quick to see if I could find the fucking parental control button. I could not find it, but I did find, like, a lot of dust in it, which says that I haven't read that book in a while. But, anyways, that was more fun than I needed to have. That was way more fun than I needed to have. But there's a different conversation I wanted to have, an equally dumb one. I wanted to talk about content creation. Oh yeah, no, the person also said that they would risk genocide if it meant that they would have good movies and books. I'm done engaging with that person today. Jack Harper, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna keep making fun of you. Oh, books was a bad example. No, you don't get to walk it back. You Ben Shapiro'd yourself, now you get to own it. You will forever be the books have parental controls guy in my chat. You did it. You get to earn it. You earned it 100%. But, anywho, I wanted to talk about content creation. As I'm sitting here just, you know, playing World of Warcraft, talking to you guys, pretending that that's actually content. I did a lot of research on what I should do with my channel going forward, and most of that research was conducted with y'all guys, using the survey that I put up to see what I should be doing on my channel going forward. And what people seemed to react to the most is kind of weird. So in the survey, a lot of people really did not want me, or not did not want, but would have preferred me doing mostly reaction videos, reacting to other things, and then creating my own original content, where I'm just giving my own thoughts on things, I'm articulating my own opinions, stuff like that. But then this weird thing happens when I looked in the YouTube algorithm. Not the I didn't look in the algorithm. I wish I had that kind of power. But when I look at videos that have performed well on my channel, some of the stuff that's performed really well is stuff that people directly complained about and did not want me to do. And what I mean by that is there was a few episodes I did where I did an experiment where I was playing World of Warcraft, but I also had the video I was responding to there. And if you remember, I experimented a bunch of times with different ways to make that type of content consumable, and most of the conversation in my actual feed and my survey, most of the conversation seemed to center around the idea that they're not here for that kind of content, they're not here for the gaming stuff, so they just rather it not be there. So even if I'm playing WoW, it would basically be this, right? Now I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm talking with you guys about the thing I want to talk about, but you don't see anything else. There's no eye stimuli there. But as for why that was happening in the first place, I started to come to a realization about myself and content creation. It's getting harder for me to make content. I made another version of this video, a much shorter one with less oomph to it, over on Patreon, and I basically give most of my just internal thoughts on content creation and where the channel's going, and just talking about stuff that's going on in the background. That's what my Patreon's for. So if you want to support my channel and get basically the equivalent of a vlog, that's there for anybody who wants to do that. But a thing that I had noticed a lot as content creation has evolved for people is content is becoming less of an art form and more of a theft form. And what I mean by that is we are seeing a lot more content from the Hassan Pikers and XQCs of the world that is not content. It's not anything that they've made or produced or thought on. It's them watching a video and reacting to it. And oftentimes the reaction, like if I'm just going to go and say names for every single one of these, because I don't respect any one of these creators at all. It's like when Asmongold makes a video of him watching a video and all you're seeing is the eyebrows twitch. That's all the content is just How far can Asmongold's eyebrows go up to the content that he's watching? And maybe he'll say a little bit of something at the end. I remember ages ago, there were a few friends of mine that said that they would have loved to watch my content more, but they would have preferred if I had played entire videos from front to back and then responded to them. And that's never felt right at all. That's never felt like a thing that anybody should do. One, it wasn't the content I was consuming at the time anyway. When I would watch, you know, Vice Rhino, Godless Cranium, Pelagia, any of them, if they reacted to a video, they didn't play the video in full, basically making their video a full-on replacement for the original. They played parts of the video and responded to the parts of the video. When I started doing my content, I adapted it a little bit to where I would do the entire video. I don't have the same level of patience and skill that, say, Pelagia does with cutting out the bits of the video so that his video ends up being a shorter one than the original video. That's a fun thing to try. Like, if you're ever watching Pelagia, look at any of his videos and then go find the original that he's responding to. His videos are always shorter. He manages to condense them down really well, which is really cool. But Aaron Permit says, I'm thinking of Sniper Wolf. SS Sniper Wolf is also another one of these. Like, they do things and people watch, but they don't add a whole lot. They don't really. I have never watched anything from XQC or Hassan, or I haven't watched anything from Sniper Wolf at all. Just watch the reactions to her reactions. And then anytime I've watched anything from Asmon, for the most part, it's just been, let me look at a thing and let me consume it, but consume it in front of your eyes. And then that's it. It's why, like, when I have the media share thing running on my channel, I don't want to take any of that media share stuff and put that on the channel permanently. That just goes away afterwards, or goes onto the live feed. I don't want any of that content to be stuff that defines what I do on my channel, because I would rather the things that I do on my channel be my own thoughts, my own ideas. If I'm responding to something, that's okay. If I'm reacting to something, that's not. This is one of the reasons why when people show videos into my video request feed, and it's stuff that I would probably agree with, I tend to ignore it, because I don't want it to just be me going, ah, yes, I agree with the things being said in that video. Like, that's not content at that point. Also, how's it going, Monica? Can I get a shout out for Monica Cine real quick? You know, that's not content to me. That's not something that I want to consume. I want to consume things from the original creator. So if I'm looking at a video and I'm responding to it, that's what I want it to be from top to bottom. I want it to be my responses. If you want to hear the unfiltered version of what somebody is saying, then you can watch their video if you so choose, but I want you to come here not as a replacement to somebody else's content, but as a way to watch specifically my thoughts on a thing. No different than if I was just watching, not even playing the video, just saying my thoughts on a recent thing, period. Which is one of the reasons why I started doing the playing video game while speaking thing for a few videos. And while some people didn't really seem to respond to that well, there are a couple of instances where people have. There was a Blair White video where I did that. There was the video on JoeCat where I did that I did right before the holidays. People do seem to respond to that a little well, and I'm wondering if it's a combination of me being more genuine, because I'm looking at something while I'm just, you know, I'm speaking, right? I'm wondering if that's the reason why that content tends to perform a little better, or if it's just that it's specifically been on people who are prolific. Blair White generally does very well whenever I do content reacting to things that she has said, responding to things that she has said. I'm not super happy about that because I don't like listening to Blair White. I don't. But I do wonder if maybe that's a direction that my content will end up going in over time, because I have been finding it harder and harder to make things. There's all kinds of projects I have in my head, and I never find the time to start them, and it's because there's always other projects need to get done. So on my main channel, I have 2 videos that come out every day for the most part, right? I have a video that goes out at 8 a.m. Eastern, and then I have a video that goes out at 4 p.m. Eastern. And that already creates a bit of an overload in my brain in terms of what I can and can't accomplish. There's 2 other channels that I run that I'm 3 if you count Sunset City that I don't produce content for at the rate that I want to. There's the Spicy Tech channel, which was at one point Suris Video. Also, the Animike, thank you very much for resubscribing. At one point that was just the Suris TCG channel, but then I realized that I wasn't able to produce content for that channel on my own anymore. At least not until recently. I've got something cooking for that, hopefully. And I realized that that channel's identity may end up just being exclusively the podcast that's associated with it, for better or worse. So, okay, now we've got a channel that exists, but only gets really a podcast on it every week. Not everybody's there looking for podcasts, and there's all kinds of stuff that I want to do that maybe my podcast partners don't want to do as well. There's plenty of things that I want to accomplish on that channel that they're just not there for. They're there because they want to talk about Magic the Gathering from top to bottom. Anything that's extra work on there, it's a job for me and me alone. Then there's also the Suris Gaming channel, the Suris Video channel, where I've wanted to make more Sonic What Ifs. But to do that, I need to play through all of Sonic Battle so I can get all the footage for it. And playing through Sonic Battle, it's about a 20 to 30 hour long Game Boy Advance game, which is going to be a bit of an issue because I'd have to play it, here on my computer, running through a very grindy game to get stuff. And I think what's happening is all of the pre-steps to the projects that I want to do are preventing me from finishing or even starting those projects. When I think about writing the script for it, I think about the next thing that has to happen. And when I think about the next thing that has to happen, I suddenly find myself not starting the project at all. Artemis Harper says, how are you not burned out? That's the thing. That's the funny thing. Sakura, thank you for the 100 bits. Ice Rogue, thank you for the subscription. So I actually am burned out. I've come to terms with the fact that as a content creator, I can't get the creative juices in my brain flowing because there's too many work juices, I guess you'd have to say, that have to happen first. And that's a problem that I want to try to solve. I originally thought that maybe I could solve that problem by cutting the amount of videos that I did on my main channel down and then increasing the output on my other channels so that I could have more time to work on my creative interests and less time to work on a very, very soul-draining method of content creation, producing 2 videos a day. It's on stuff that I care about. It really and truly is, but just like there are people who, when they're watching my channel, have to take breaks because it's a lot for them to consume, sometimes I feel like I have to take breaks because it's a lot for me to produce. There's only so many ways you can read somebody saying that gay people don't deserve to have kids or trans people don't deserve to exist before you start to get a little tired, before you start to run a little bit thin. You said too much tried too fast? Maybe. And I've tried a few methods to try to get that content produced in a way that I'm happy with it. So for the Sonic content, it was, what if I split the labor up? What if I split the labor up between me and Smacko and Pup? I would pay Channel Pup for the editing, and I would pay Smacko Arts for the artwork, and then I would record the video, write the script, and then speak on it. But then that created another problem. Producing a video costed me a minimum of $1,000 to produce. The last What If Shadow Died video costed over $300 in the art, over $300 in editing, and then there was also an amount of money that had to be spent on voice actors. Like, when I tallied that video up the last time, it was getting close to $1,000 in terms of what it took to produce, which is fine. That certainly made sure that Smacko had money that came in. It certainly made sure that Pup had money that came in. But the videos, like, those videos don't generate a shit ton of views. It's a thing that I absolutely adore, and I'm super happy I was able to make it. But then when my brain looks at content creation as a job, it starts to de-incentivize me from putting any time into those projects because the return for those projects is so small. And that ends up creating another problem. And I know it's a problem that other content creators have had as well, which is the want to create something that they know will not perform for them. The want to make something that takes them 10, 20, 30 hours to create, and then after they've created it, they throw it out on the world, and it doesn't really generate the same kind of response as something that would have been a lot easier for them to do. Hopping on a trend is a lot easier to do. Going on TikTok, and the thing that you used to do was you would go on a TikTok and do a dance to whatever music was considered trendy at the time until that stopped being the thing. Now it's the faceless videos doing AI-generated voice content garbage, which I think is an avenue for people to take if their name has been poisoned, for instance. Like, let's say you're Boogie and you desperately need to make content to live. Sure, that's an avenue that you have there, but I wouldn't say that that's fun content to produce. You kind of create a world where the most creative people in the world do not make enough being creative, so they end up having to work doing things that are more soul-sucking. This is an issue that I've also found, not for myself, but for artists who've worked for me, and a few of them who work under me pretty consistently. So let's go ahead and talk about fan art. I love fan art. It's amazing. It comes in, and it makes my day when it happens, and I love showcasing it for people who are here on my channel. But then this weird thing happens for a lot of artists when they start turning art into their career. They notice that original art that they create doesn't actually sell very well. But fan art does. Also, we just had a hype train complete. Thank you all for that. But what I mean is, go to a convention and you'll find artists that are selling art of Pokemon, Final Fantasy, Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, various video games. You'll find people selling like Mass Effect body pillows, all kinds of memey stuff like that. And sure, a lot of artists enjoy producing it, but then they'll notice this really, really weird thing where the original content that they've made doesn't perform well. It doesn't do as well. And it's not that any of that original content is bad. It's not that any of it is any more or less consumable than other content. But unfortunately, the reality is people tune into what they recognize. People tune in on various levels to what they know. This is a reason why there is so much cross-promotion in media now. This is the reason why there's so many collaborations between big media franchises now. It's why stuff like the Avengers does really well. Franchises do really well. They're familiar and they're comfortable. People, as a rule, watch something, consume it, enjoy it, and then when they see more of it, it reminds them of the enjoyment they had with it, and they'll go and consume more stuff around that thing that they liked before they'll try something new. Not every single person is like this, but a lot of people are, and the data does show that this is not an isolated phenomenon. This is kind of just how human beings work. We find something we're familiar with, we experience it, and then we want to go experience more with it and more about it. This is how we get these fun little phenomenons like brand loyalty as well, where people find something that they enjoy, and they use it, and then even if something better exists that's cheaper, they'll still continue using the same dish soap, or the same wash pad, or the same milk jug. They'll continue using those things because they're loyal to that brand. They don't have a reason to move away from it because it's comfortable to them. Even if you give them 1,000 arguments to why another alternative is better, they're still going to stick with that brand loyalty. There's no place I've seen this worse than in the Sonic the Hedgehog fandom. A group of people who apparently have only played, like, 5 games in their life, and it's astounding to me. There's all kinds of people in the Sonic fandom who have such a low standard of quality for those games because they are so brand loyal to Sonic. But that's a different conversation. That's a different conversation for a different day. The point is, a thing that I've noticed as a content creator is it is easier to make content about other content that people already have opinions on. It is easier to do a reaction to an established creator than it is to be the creator that people are reacting to. You get less hate, for one. It's way easier to poke holes in an argument than it is to create your own half the time. But the more reasonable approach to that particular issue is just accepting that people might not know who you are, but they might know who you're responding to or who you're reacting to. Think about the amount of channels on TikTok right now, or over on YouTube Shorts, or Facebook, whatever their short-term content thing is. Also, thank you for the hydrate at the end of night. Whatever their short-term content thing is, I don't remember what it's called. I think it's Instagram Reels, whatever it is. How much of that content is actually original shit? How much of that content is something that you know was made by a creator, and how much of it is the AI voice tells you about a movie? Or how much is somebody sitting there with their phone, smiling, nodding their head while somebody else's content plays? They're not adding anything to it. They're not giving an argument or anything. They're just looking at it. They're just watching it. I guarantee you, if you look through any of that content while you're cogent, instead of just kind of doom-scrolling it, you're gonna notice that a fuck ton of what's on there is just repurposed, recurated shit that other people made. And I guarantee you, nobody gave permission for any of that shit to be reused over and over and over again by a billion AI-voiced content mills. So what do you do when you've got original stuff that you want to do? Hell, right as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm gonna try to do a quick recording on a Magic format that I'm working on. And there's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Format that I already worked on that I would love to do some content on. But it's hard to think about how I'm gonna thread that in to the other stuff. I'm not going to do the doom and gloom, oh, nothing is original anymore, because that's not true. That's not true. There's plenty of original stuff out there now. It's just buried under a sea of garbage. It's kind of funny. So when I was a kid, I had a Nintendo Wii. I actually still have my Nintendo Wii. And the experience of existing on the internet today, looking at content, finding creators, it feels very much like owning a Nintendo Wii. Now, that may seem confusing at first, but for those of you who grew up with Wiis, you'll probably understand what I'm talking about as soon as I mention shovelware. There was no console after the Atari, but before the Wii, that had as much hot garbage on it. I loved my Wii. It had a ton of just amazing games. But the reality is, it was a console filled to the brim with shovelware. Watching content today feels a lot like trying to find games for the Wii. You want to find something cool and unique, and there's just a pile of bloatware to get through to get to it. And it's kind of made creating content harder, because it feels sometimes like you have to be somebody making the bloatware, or you don't perform as well as everybody else. And that's not great. So I realized I ended that video prematurely because I had to go figure out what my dogs were barking at. But I didn't actually want to end that particular topic about content creation. I wanted to go ahead and say that what I kind of want to do on my own channel, and what I've tried a few times that I wanted to actually stick at some point, is be able to go down to legitimately a video a day and then spend the rest of my time working on other content, working on stuff for the other channels. I just don't know if that's actually possible. Not really. Speech just says, make it a two-parter. No, that particular content well dried up a long time ago. People are not a big fan of two-part videos anymore. Now, people tend to be... What? It says to kneel at the Moonwell. Hold on. Ancient memory of our kind. Go to the Moonwell to the north and kneel. Oh, my God. Really? It needs me to physically kneel down. No? Huh. Let me see here. Let's just try kneeling at the Moonwell. Now I'm thinking about it. Vice Rider says, I used to split videos into two if you got to be over 20 minutes. And I used to consider that to be a pretty okay thing to do. Also, Razor, thank you for resubscribing at Tier 3. But nowadays, the YouTube algorithm seems to really favor long-form content. Senator says, type/kneel. You mean the thing I did? I typed kneel. Do I do it in the Moonwell? Let's try it again. Wrong Moonwell, maybe? I don't think so. Meditation on a loon. Okay. Your mind is expanding. But, instead of being serious about it being in the Moonwell, that's just weird. That's just weird. It's fine, though. Season of Discovery is its own thing. But, what I was trying to say is, when it comes to content creation, I want to be able to strike a balance between being super excited about my hobbies, because that also seems to be something that people wanted in the surveys. They wanted me to be able to make more stuff on my hobbies, the stuff that I'm genuinely excited about. So to that end, I think I am going to be recording another video here in a bit about the $15 Commander format that I want to work on, and I want to try to convince people that they should try it as well, as a fun deck building exercise, and that way we can also do a community thing over on the channel where everybody has a really easy buy-in. That's what I would like to do. And I'm going to try to, at the very least, take that current fixation of making those decks and post them onto my, my trading card game channel. See if maybe that will help me a little bit get out of this particular rut. It's weird. It's a rut that I feel like I need to create stuff to get out of, but being in the rut makes it harder to create stuff. And that just makes things really interesting. What the fuck? Purple Poundini has given out 50 community sub. Jesus Christ, Purple! Fuck! That also deserves an ooh-woo, because that's where we are. It's in the middle of a video, but I don't fucking care this one time, because we're talking about content creation. But instead of a point-buy system, it's a price cap. Yes! That is the idea. And I'll talk about it more when I get into that particular video. But I've just gotten to the point with content creation now that I can't just rise and grind, as Jerry says. I can't get up and just do it for the sake of it being a job. I need there to be more to it than that. And if I'm going to produce the stuff that is a little harder for me to do, a little less fun for me to do, then that's fine, so long as I can do the stuff that's also really fun for me to do. There was a content creator a while back that my friend Jacob really, really liked. And there was a video of his that he showed me, and I watched it before I started doing content creation. And it didn't resonate with me before, but it resonates with me now, because I am now a content creator. But the video basically boiled down to a streamer and an animator, same person, is talking with his audience. And I wish I could remember the actual streamer who this was from. But he's talking with his audience and saying that the honest truth is he streams to pay the bills. But he makes animations because it's fun. And even though his animations get a ton of views, it's not enough to pay the bills. He feels like he has to stream so that he can buy himself the time to make the content that he loves. He has to make content so that he can make content. And I feel like that's a position that a lot of streamers get into. It starts out as being and a lot of video creators as well, it starts out as being a major life goal. Oh my god, if I could just make content to survive, I'd be doing what I love, and then I'm never working a day in my life. But then that changes when that becomes your work. And then you start having to produce not content that you want to make, but content that you feel you have to make. Content that starts to drain you, because even if it's something that you're still passionate about, you don't want to do it through the medium of content creation anymore. And I'm not quite to that point. But I think the thing I need to do to get myself as far away from getting to that point as possible is sitting down and doing some stuff that I genuinely love first and foremost. And then going back to business as usual. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, for those of you who have not already subscribed to the Spicy Tech channel, which is probably subject to change as soon as I figure out what actual name we need to stick with for that podcast is, I'll go ahead and provide a link in the description, and I'll probably do it as a pinned comment as well. Please go sub over there, give some watch time to the first 3 episodes that we've put out over there, and I know there's some scuff in the first 2. An amazing amount of scuff in the first 2, but we're trying to work through them. Hopefully we can get to a point where it's something that is worth y'all spending your time on. But till then, hopefully the other endeavors that I'm involved in outside of my main channel will start to flourish as well. I hope Sunset City continues to grow as we start our show back up in January. I hope that the Magic the Gathering channel that I'm working on will start to grow. I hope that I find the motivation to start putting content out on my video game channel happens again. I hope. But, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Now that I've actually hit the end of the video that I'm supposed to, instead of trying to go stop my dogs from barking and get pizza. Now that I've done that part, we're at this part. So, let me know what you guys think. Hit the like button if you haven't already. And as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.